Hydlide, let's go. Right off the bat, amazing demo that they show at the start. Really selling me on the game. The way that the character walked into that dungeon and then stood there for a moment and then left? Well, I just can't wait to get this game started so that I can do that myself. So a lot of people are probably already aware of this game and its sequels, since a lot of other much more popular and talented people than me have already reviewed them, but I've never played them, so here's my review. The story of the game is one to remember. A dragon shows up and shoots fire at a princess, transforming her into 3 fairies, and you have to go save her. Princess wasn't captured, or killed, or trapped in a crystal or something. No, she was hit by fire, which transformed her into 3 fairies. Pretty weird. I looked it up, and apparently this game takes place in Fairyland. This dragon is actually a demon named Borealis, and after transforming Princess Anne into 3 fairies, he unleashed his monsters out into the kingdom of Hydlide, and it's up to a lone knight to stop him. There's actually more, like 3 magic jewels were stolen from a castle or something, but this is not evident in the game, and I don't really care. The princess was transformed into 3 fairies. You can't really top that. Do you think that each of the 3 fairies makes up a different facet of her personality? Or do you think that she was cloned in 3 identical fairies? This is a lot more interesting than the actual game, that's why I'm spending so much time thinking about it. Oh, and get this. The demon is named Borealis, the princess is named Anne, and the knight, his name is Jim. He's Jim the Knight. That sounds more like the name of a janitor than a knight in a fantasy story. So at the risk of sounding redundant and stating the obvious, this game heavily resembles The Legend of Zelda. But don't be fooled, the original Japanese release for Hydlide actually predates The Legend of Zelda by over a year. And oh boy does it show. It may look a bit like Zelda, but it does not play like Zelda. This was made before Zelda showed everybody how it should be done, I guess. Because right from the get-go, I'm completely lost. I can't even figure out how to attack enemies, or where to go. And how did I die here? What killed me? This is a prime example of a video game where you need the instruction manual. But even after reading the manual, it's not obvious what to do in this game at all, but I guess I have a bit of a better idea. The combat system in this game boggles my mind, but it came out in 1984, so I guess I won't judge it too hard. You do not press a button to swipe your sword to hit enemies. No. You attack enemies by walking into them. When the A button is pushed down, you're in attack mode, and if it's not being pushed, then you're in defense mode. So hold the A button and run into enemies. Riveting combat. Oh, but you'll still take damage. So, yeah. Have fun with that. You're supposed to attack enemies from behind to avoid taking damage, but that's sometimes easier said than done. Sometimes enemies surround you or just won't cooperate and turn the other way, and it can be pretty hard to tell what's the front and what's the behind when you're talking about an amorphous slime. You're gonna take damage here and there, but sadly the manual for this game doesn't tell you how to heal yourself. Seriously. And you know how you do it? You stand in grass. By standing in grass, you regain health. Really weird. It's great. It makes perfect sense. The manual seriously doesn't tell you this. The closest it comes is this part here where it says, when you walk in the kingdom, watch your step at all times. If you try too hard, you'll tire easily. Yeah. So stand in the grass and take a break. God, regaining health, it was so obvious. Grass. The whole time, so obvious. Thank you, manual writing guys. You're a bit screwed when you're in areas without grass. Actually, you know what? No matter where you are in this game, just save the game constantly. It's very easy to die. Just pause and save. But don't be fooled. The pause menu might say save, but this game did not come with a built-in battery pack like Zelda. So you can't actually save the game and then stop playing and then load up your save later. You have to use passwords to return to where you were. Instead, the save and load functions only work while the game remains on, which is kind of silly. If you die and go back to the title screen, it should just bring you back to the last point you saved automatically. Why make me load my game every time? Especially considering how often you will die in this game. Seriously, save the game often, constantly, over and over and over again. One slip up and you're dead. Each time you kill an enemy, you gain a little bit of experience, and you can't do much of anything in this game until you start leveling up. Oh god, it's gonna take me a while. This is how the game starts. Seriously, the immediate thing to do in this game, immediately when you start your adventure, is to stay on the first couple of screens killing slimes until you level up once or twice. Only then will you be strong enough to do anything else. What a bad way to start off a game. Immediate grinding. I guess this was the game developer's way of preparing you for what was to come, because this game requires a lot of grinding all the way through. And even with the grinding, I still can't get anywhere in this game. This feels like the kind of game where there's a very specific order to the things you should do. Grind here, and then go here so you can get item A in order to go to area B and defeat enemy G. Every step I take, I get killed. It doesn't take much. A rock killed me. A rock! After wandering around and dying again and again for a while, I finally just decided to use Google. I needed a bit of guidance, and yeah, that sucks, but it's not like this is the only game that came out back then where things were impossible to figure out and required a strategy guide. That was kind of the standard back then. Just look at the original Zelda. Just try playing through that game completely blind. You'll probably have a bit of trouble, although that game's not nearly as difficult or grindy or obscure as this one, so yeah, it's much more forgiving there. But this game, my god, so much stuff you have to do that is in no way obvious. And also just plenty of difficult parts, like this part right here. These wisps kill you so easily. I had to reload and retry this one room so many times, for so long. Even when I realized that I could use the turn spell, it didn't really help. It makes enemies walk away from you for like a second, and then it's done, and then they go after me again. But hey, at least throughout all of these difficult sections and mind-numbing grinding, you get to listen to this game's amazing soundtrack. Sure, the graphics are nothing to write home about. The fact that so much of the screen is dedicated to all of these bars and stats, as well as the name of the game for some reason, it's pretty dumb. But the graphics aren't the worst, they're just kind of primitive. The music, on the other hand, is detrimental to the game, because it's just a short 16-second loop that plays over and over again. God, what I wouldn't give for the angelic blurps and beeps from Bubsy 3D right now, or the ear-numbing majesty of the Wizard of Oz, or even just the truck sounds from Big Rigs. That's how bad this is. It's, for whatever reason, the theme from Indiana Jones, but not even the full theme, just a part of the theme, roughly 16 seconds of the theme, looped forever, and it spans nearly the entire game. From the start of the game all the way until the final boss, you have to listen to this. And it's kind of like, what's that thing called? A shepherd tone, like the stairs from Mario 64. It sounds like it's getting higher and higher, but it isn't. It's just an illusion. The music is kind of like that in a way. It's like every time the song loops, it makes you think that it's gonna keep going. Like the song will continue forward and you'll hear the rest of the Indiana Jones theme. But then it just starts over. It just loops that one section of the song forever. That's the soundtrack for this game. It's enough to drive you crazy. Okay, just gonna mute the game. Oh, that's so much better. This game is definitely more cryptic than Zelda. Here you have to just magically know to press A against these random trees. This isn't a secret. You need to do this to win the game. And here, apparently if you kill enough enemies in this area, you get a shield. This wizard is the worst. He resists like every kind of attack except for the wave spell. And there's no way to know that except by just trying everything. Plus, you'd obviously assume that these are two wizards on the screen. But according to the holy word of Google search, it's actually one wizard who has split himself into two halves, meaning that you have to kill both of these enemies at the exact same time. So you have to line them up and hit them both with the wave spell. Oh, and hey, if that wasn't bad enough, which it is, you can't shoot spells up and down. For whatever stupid reason, you can only send spell attacks to the left and right. It is so incredibly dumb. Why? Why is this a thing? Look how narrow the screen is. And these guys hit pretty hard. I'm trying my best not to die every second that I'm on the screen. Wait. Oh my god. It's only the wave spell. That's the only spell that you can't shoot up and down. What the actual hell were they thinking when they designed this? That's literally the one spell that I desperately need to shoot up or down, and they make it so that you can't? Alright, you've been watching me play this game up to this point. You know what it's all about. but you'll never know just how boring it is until you actually play it. All these dumb parts that I've been describing make up only a small chunk of the experience. Most of it is, as I've already said, grinding for levels. My god, this game is boring. It's like a mobile game. Actually, there's kind of more truth to that than you might think. The more I think about it, this game actually does remind me of a bad mobile game, designed to be really grindy and boring so that you spend money to make it go by faster. That's what this game feels like. Release this game for the first time today as a mobile game, add microtransactions to skip the grinding for experience, and call it, I don't know, 8-bit Zelda mobile game fun time. And I'd totally buy it. I mean, I wouldn't buy it, as in purchase it. I'd believe it. God knows I would never play this game if it wasn't for a review. And that really speaks to this game's quality. So even after several level ups, traveling the forest and the cavern, slaying mighty slimes and not so mighty kobolds, I still don't stand a chance against the greatest enemy of them all. The rock. Dun dun dun. Seriously, this rock means business. I've been killed by a simple boulder more times than I'd like to admit. And trees. The trees are difficult too. Actually, they're straight up invincible. Undefeatable enemies. Trees and rocks are this game's official deadliest enemies. Not the final boss, not this giant dragon. No, you can actually damage those. The deadliest enemy in this game is moving trees and rocks. Oh, and you have to search these trees too, by the way. They kill you in one hit, but you have to search them for one of the fairies that you need to complete the game. And it's a random tree each time, so just save and reload. I'm a broken record. Alright, let's finish this up. After beating that stupid wizard, you break a tombstone that drains all of the water in the kingdom for some reason. And now this previously invincible dragon can be damaged. Because it runs on water, I guess. Oh, and here's a time lapse of the dragon fight. Looks riveting, I know. It's even more fun at regular speed. It's boring. My best pal Google has told me that this medicine you get will basically act like a fairy does in Zelda. It's a one-use item that will revive me when I die automatically, but only once. And apparently you need this item for the final boss, which, yeah, I can totally see that. Honestly, I probably would have assumed that anyway. But having it confirmed is good because now I know that if I ever die and use it, reload, or else the ending will be impossible. So no more dying until the final boss. What did I just say, Jim? The final boss is really difficult, and just like the dragon fight, incredibly tedious. But like most things, if you know the trick to it, it's actually not too hard. It's just stupid. You can actually defeat this demon guy in like 6 seconds. It's pretty laughable if you do it just right. And, oh my god, the music finally changes for this final boss fight. It's not good, but it's different. And then for the ending of the game, you get more Indiana Jones music. God, it's weird. Like, did they not care? Did they think that nobody would notice? Were they lazy? Or was it supposed to be an homage or something? I'm just gonna go with lazy and leave it at that. And once you save the princess, you've won. You get to stand next to her. No kiss from the princess or anything. Just a classic old game ending. At least something like Deadly Towers had that awful cutscene at the end. But I mean, what else did I expect? I knew this was gonna be it. This is not a good game. I know it's really old, and for the time, people probably did enjoy it. And it's true that a lot of video games back then basically required you to buy a strategy guide, but plenty of NES games hold up better than this. And I'll bring it up again, Zelda kind of requires a guide as well. It can be tricky, but at least the base game was fun and well designed. And it wasn't quite as cryptic or strange as this. Like draining water by breaking a tombstone, which for some reason weakens a fire-breathing dragon. It's just randomness. But yeah, there's no real reason to play this game today. Its graphics are very primitive and unimpressive, its music is terrible and repetitive, its gameplay ranges from being annoying to boring and mind-numbing. Not to mention that you play as a knight named Jim. What a stupid name for a knight. But apparently this game was popular enough to inspire a legacy of sequels and remakes. Yeah, I'll get to those eventually. But for now, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Now, if you excuse me, I have to go get started on some Sonic reviews. See you later.